Hello and welcome to Barcelona, ready for the start of the second GP2 race weekend of 2007. The cars speeding away from the dummy grid, led by Timo Glock and Andreas Zuber. The iSport teammates are the first such to claim an all-exclusive front row. Incredibly, never before, despite the domination of ART over the last two seasons, has any team claimed a front row lockout. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven, alongside me Gareth Rees. And Gareth, a new look Barcelona circuit this weekend for the teams, which hopefully should, well, at least spice up the Formula 1 action, but GP2 might benefit as well from some of that. Yeah, they've made a change to the circuit between the last two turns. Previously two very, very quick turns, two of the most challenging corners on the F1 stroke GP2 calendars. But Barcelona traditionally has not been somewhere that's great for overtaking, so they've brought it in to try and improve the spectacle down at the first turn. The idea being that it'll encourage mistakes to be made as you come onto the pit straight. It'll encourage a slower entry speed onto the pit straight. So you've got this horrible kind of mid-speed chicane between the last two turns. Personally, I'm not a fan. I'm not sure many of the drivers are convinced it'll make much difference, but hopefully we're wrong, and hopefully it will spice things up and we'll see a great race. Well, we remain to be convinced. Nonetheless, it has been made. In fact, actually, the change was really made not to make Formula 1 interesting, but to make MotoGP a little safer, which, of course, is a much bigger sport in Spain, courtesy of their long history of enjoying it. Well, much of the circuit unchanged here through Campsa in front of the big grandstands and heading down again towards the back of the pit lane, and the sharp left-hander at La Casa, which has been the scene of taking manoeuvres in the past. So just to run down the order then, Timo Glock and Andy Zuber, and De Grassi lines up third for ART, with Nicola Lapierre in fourth for Dams, Mike Conway fifth ahead of Bruno Senna. Those two were teammates last year in British Formula 3. Conway was the champion, Senna in third place. Now they race for Supernova and Arden, but three drivers had problems after qualifying and have been penalised, Gareth, so there has been a slight change, and perhaps the man who lost out most was the Spaniard Andy Suchek, who now starts from last on the grid. I think the most significant one there probably is Pantano, because he qualified third up behind the two iSport cars. He was obviously therefore closest in pace to those two right at the front. I mean, those two got a big advantage over the rest of the field. Pantano was the only one keeping it vaguely respectable. Now he's been kicked back to 8th for not respecting yellow flags. The gap is huge between iSport and the rest. So unfortunately, I think in terms of the race quality, it'd be nice to see Pantano there, but I think he will make progress through the field. Well, former race winners in Spain, including Pantano, who won in 2002 and 2003. He was on pole in 2003 as well. Dominated this race for Durango in Formula 3000. Nobody else who's previously won here still in the field. Oh no, I beg your pardon. So Pantano having a chance to come back here and win a third time in Barcelona. So with everybody taking the requisite precautions, cars coming to the grid, headed by the iSport pair. Christian Backerud, we just saw the tail of his car, 23rd on the grid, DPR's best qualifying position of the season. I read that and my jaw dropped. That's appalling for a team with such a proud history in single-seater sports cars and all sorts of other kind of racing. That's really depressing, isn't it? Yes, it is. I mean, obviously early days, but they can only get forward from there, can't they? Well, early days, they haven't had much luck at all in the last two seasons. So the lights go on. We've got an aborted start, so they will all go off again on another green flag lap. I didn't see well, Andy Zuber hasn't moved, but he was not the first. There was yellow flags waving further back. Not quite sure how much further back they were waving. It seemed to be around sort of row 7, 8, 9-ish. Who's that? Is that Tahinci? Yeah. Jason Tahincioglu, which is his full name in Turkish, but like so many drivers, making it a little bit more media friendly. Pushing Zuber into the pit lane. Well, he's stalled on the grid, so they have to push him into the pit lane. He will take a pit lane start, so I'm not sure how Sean Kelly, our stat man, will have to reflect that. Because, true. Although it was a qualifying, he didn't actually start the race from the outside the front row of the grid, but it was a qualifying one too. Yeah, that's a shame for Zuber. He worked so hard. I mean, he was very quick. He was the only guy remotely close to Glock, so that's really frustrating for him. Now they've got the remote starter in, and it was going chunk, but nothing much was happening there, and that really is very bad news. Now, unusually in Bahrain, there were a couple of engine failures and a little bit of unreliability from the engine department and transmissions that we're not used to seeing, and maybe this new aero package and the extra strain it puts on the cars is having a bit of an effect. Maybe it was just the Bahrain temperatures.
It's difficult to say, isn't it? In Bahrain, there's so much sand in the air as well. It gets blown off the desert onto the track. Then that doesn't help engines, and don't like that. On board with Nakajima there, who we saw in Bahrain, was very quick and even more wild. He actually qualified 5th today, but because of his shunt with Ho Pin Tung in Bahrain, he got a 10 grid spot penalty, so he starts 15th. So I imagine a few of the front runners were quite pleased to see Nakajima get put back safely out of the way.
Yes, however, the midfield runners
they weren't.
won't be quite so impressed. He's definitely one of those drivers about, whether you're a driver or a fan.
I mean, he's fantastically quick. It's clear, from the off he's been very, very fast, but he really has got to learn to channel that in the right way, because at the moment he's a liability.
How often have we heard that said before?
Yeah.
In fact, he was racing as well. Satoru Nakajima.
I don't know if this file have the same sort of raw apparent pace that he's got. I don't know.
Well, I'm thinking back, I think he did have when he arrived, and I think that's why he got into Formula One, because he was head and shoulders the fastest Japanese driver. At the time, he was the fastest of the upcoming young Japanese drivers. David Sears there, whose man Mike Conway lines up 5th on the grid, and the last 2 times, I'm going to use this stat because it's a great one, last 2 times Supernova drivers have won here in Barcelona, they went on to be the champion at the end of the year, so no pressure at all on Mike Conway then, and the last 2 were Vincenzo Sospiri was one back in, and Juan Pablo Montoya, that's right, 93 and 98 respectively.
You got a glimpse of that last chicane just as the cars are filing through there. You can see how much it changes the sort of nature of the circuit. It really disrupts the flow. I mean, those 2 corners were such a challenge, so fast, such a challenge, and now completely different. But hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll make the racing better, so we'll see.
Can be great to see MotoGP bikes through there as well. They'll be
yes,
flip-flopping all over the place. Again, you see another heavy braking area. It's almost like heavy braking in MotoGP is almost like rain used to be in Formula One. It's just guaranteed to favour one rider, Valentino Rossi.
Yes,
the king of the brakes.
The Rainmeister.
So here we go again then. Second time of asking. Timo Glock on pole, no Andy Zuber. Lucas de Grassi. Nicola Lapierre. Look for him in the red and white car. White and red car on the left-hand side. 5 lights are on. Long hold from Charlie Whiting. Away they go. A shocking start from Lapierre. Here comes Senna. Trying to go through him. He's gone past Senna. And Pantano trying to get through as well. He'll go past Lapierre. Oh, missed him.
I think
everyone missed him. That's Chandok. Karen Chandok in the Durango car. That was astonishing. How did they miss him?
Glock got a great start.
Oh, there's the other Durango car. In fact, it's not actually.
One of the PK sports cars.
Yeah, I think you're right. And there's 2 more there. One is the Supernova car
with the wing hanging off.
And the other one is the other. That's Jason De Hinchey, I think, or maybe one of the BCN cars. Oh dear, oh dear. So Timo Glock in a race of his own until he comes up behind a Mercedes that he won't be allowed to pass, and I make that De Grassi in second and Senna in third. The 2 Brazilians got away really well there.
He did. I mean, De Grassi got a great start, was keeping Glock on the defensive all the way down to the first turn as a safety car ready to come out. Yeah,
so safety car will be scrambled with 3, 4, possibly 5 cars to detangle from their respective parking places. Good start from Senna though, 5th place to 3rd. Lapierre 4th, Garcia 5th, Adrian Zaug in 6th position. Antonio Pizzonia with damage, definite right rear damage. So Zaug, Nakajima, Rodríguez, Petrov, oh my goodness me. Conway 21st, he got tagged somewhere, didn't he? Mike Conway from 5th, is he the...
I thought it was Philippi who was backwards with his wing hanging.
Well, that's Pantano, so he will not win here. Now that I'm pretty much going to put money on it. There's the Supernova car on the far left. Don't see who that is over. So we're missing Tahinchi Negrao. You were right, Gareth. Good spot. Shocking getaway from Lapierre. Absolutely appalling. And
what did Chandok do? Just lost it on the grass.
2 wheels on the grass.
Oh! Lucky. My goodness,
the first of the PK Sport cars dodged that bullet. Now, which of the 2 PK Sport cars didn't dodge the next one?
That's Philippine.
Up at the top.
Yeah, and that's Conway up there. So both Supernova cars out.
In fact, it was Sandy Negrão who missed Chandok by millimetres, and then here he comes through the shot, just going out of shot. Then he ran into the back, I think, of the Supernova car. So, oh dear, oh dear. It's just one of those worrying moments. Oh, look at this. That's that's not Negrão in front of us. No, that is Negrão in front of us.
Here comes Chandok across our bows. Oh. Wow.
And Sandy Negrão, watch him as we follow him through. He goes to the outside, that's the racing line. Bit of a lock up here, then they all come across in front of him. That's Conway. Yep. Bang. Yep. He ran into the back of Conway. Somebody hit Pitsonia, that's Pitsonia's right rear with most of the side pod rubbing against it. So we've lost Zuber. He never left the pits. Conway's out, Pantano out, Filippi out, Karen Chandok out, Sandy Negrão out. Jason Tahinci also, it seems, never left the pit lane. So Glock, De Grassi, Senna, Lapierre, Garcia, Zaug, the top half dozen, with Nakajima, Rodríguez, Petrov and Herate, the top 10. Well, there's not much point in dragging that round. Antonio Pitsonia should have gone into the pits when he had the chance. I'm assuming the pit lane would be open. Can't think of any reason why not. He must have felt the odd sensations and seen the smoke pouring off his right rear tyre. But he dragged the sorry thing around for another lap, and he's, well, he may as well have gone in and thrown his race away then, because he's really thrown it away now. Yeah, he has. He's not excelling himself, is he? Consider the mistake he made in Bahrain, where he ran into the back of Pantano under the safety car. Considering he's one of the 2 paid drivers on the grid, I would expect more of a professional performance than that. Do you know what, at the moment, if he threw his head in his hands, he'd miss. He's just not really got to grips with it at all. On board with Luca Filippi, blinding start right in front of him, yard looking as well. It was, Conway, I think, wasn't it? Poor Garcia was in front of him, who got away really quickly. Yeah, and in front of him, Conway didn't. He got caught down. Okay, so now we just go off. I think we get helped off. Hit to the left. Yeah. Unfortunately, the outside line is just leaving yourself open, isn't it? Yeah. It is. And unless you can cut... Problem is there, it's a right-left, and so if you cut to the inside of the first corner, you're just as in trouble on the outside on the second corner. I mean, it can work. I mean, the natural thing is, it's everyone coming in for their tyres now. The natural thing is to go to the inside. You can actually make great progress on the outside, but if it goes wrong, you get taken off with any accident. And the reason everybody's coming in, of course, behind the safety car is 2 laps are completed, which means that the pit window is open for compulsory stops, and anybody who does not make their stop now is really risking throwing an entire weekend away, because it's not just race 1, it's race 2. Glock hasn't. Our race leader hasn't. And Adrian Zaug hasn't either. Now, I wonder whether the pit lane was not shown as being open in time for him. Interesting that you just saw the racing engineering driver check up there as he saw the car in front of him was going to be released by ART just to avoid any problems. But you're right, they're not the only ones. Herate, Jimenez, Maldonado. Well, Maldonado in no position to follow the herd, 20th on the grid. He's got to have a gamble. Yeah. But Glock and Zaug hasn't. Glock hasn't. Zaug was sort of midfield anyway. I mean, Zaug qualified 12th, I think, or 14th, so he was further down. But Glock, I'm surprised he hasn't come in, I must admit. It's a big risk now, because the whole field of significance has taken their compulsory pit stop. Timo still has to come in, and with the safety car, they're all going to come back out, catch him up, and effectively they are 30 seconds ahead because they've all pitted. Well, the only possible saving grace for him is when he comes round past timing sector 2. If at timing sector 3 the safety car still has its lights on, then they may just have gambled correctly, but well, it's a hell of a gamble, isn't it? Well, when you're leading, I'm surprised. Yes, no, I agree, and this may be what comes back to bite iSport. From 1-2 on the grid, they may end up with absolutely nothing out of this race weekend now, because one car will start right on the back row of the grid, Andy Zuber, because he didn't even start this race, and Timo Glock, well, if he doesn't win this race, he's going to be in deep trouble down in the teens somewhere, isn't he, in a very tightly bunched field. So how's the lights on the safety car? Let's see that. Is it staying out or is it coming in? Director's not showing us anything that interesting. I guess it's coming. I think they're all speeding up. Yellow flags still waving, but they would be
Come on, let's have a long shot. Goodness sake.
No,
Okay.
safety car goes
The
round
block
again, but he's
stays
missed the
out.
pit lane.
Wow.
What is the thinking there? See,
Perhaps they've got some cunning plan we haven't worked out.
yeah, it needs to be more cunning than a cunning fox. There's just one, Emirates professional cunning somewhere. We were talking about this earlier, Gareth, before the race, about this first ever Team 1-2. I thought, no, that can't be right. Surely ART, Manucor, they were 1-2 for so long, but in fact they weren't 1-2 on the grid. But they threw that away. The Supernova car is still there. He's got one more lap. He's got to have one more lap. Supernova car must be dragged out of the way. But they threw that race away, and again, you can't fathom what the logic would be.
I'm going to assume, I know the ice sport guys pretty well, and I can only assume there is a problem that's stopping them from coming for some reason. I can't imagine that they're doing this by choice, unless we said, they've come up with some super plan that...
What possible problem there could be? You've got two cars, only one of which is running, so the other one's not going to be in the pit lane, in the way.
That's right, yeah.
Or I don't know, I can't possibly fathom what could be going on. And as for Adrian Zaug as well, I mean, he qualified pretty well. I mean, all right, 16th, not fantastic, but again, you see,
Yep.
Really surprised, at the moment they're just asking for trouble. Never mind the fact that they haven't stopped, there's this huge queue behind them now.
Well, there is. I mean, the whole field has caught them up. So even if they come in now and stop and get back out again, they're going to be right at the back of the field.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be... I'm still pretty sure they have to pull that Supernova car out of the way. It's right on the inside. I mean, that would be very, very surprising if they... Yeah, really. Surprised if they left it there. Meanwhile, Glock and Zaug still lead. Jimenez third, Andy Suchek from last is fourth, but everybody from Bruno Senna in fifth down has stopped. Lights are still on the safety car, and Timo Glock and Adrian Zaug continue to follow it round. Gareth, you've got a theory.
Well, I mean, I think there's not so much a theory.
You're inventing it on your feet, aren't you?
The one thing that's going to rescue them, I think, is Glock, don't forget, has got massive pace. He was nearly a second clear than the rest of the field in qualifying. Now, what he's got now is he's got a handful of drivers behind whose pace in qualifying wasn't that great. Zaug, Jimenez, Suchek, Senna was reasonably quick, Lapierre was quick, but they've got 3 or 4 buffer cars, if you like, who will get in the way of the rest of the field and allow Glock to get away.
The Supernova car is out of the way. I imagine the safety car lights will go off now, so it is too late to change their minds. This will be our last lap behind the safety car, but you're right. But Sergio Jimenez and Andy Suchek will be past Jimenez in a quarter of a second as soon as he gets a run on him. And look, Jimenez is nowhere near the lead too. He's not going to make any effort to try and pass them at the restart. He just won't be near enough. And Senna is going to be all over the back.
Yeah, you've got a little bunch of you, Senna, Lapierre, De Grassi, who will be right on it as soon as the safety car goes in.
And the problem is, even if they can't pass, if they can stay a second or two behind them, 5 seconds behind them, bang, the lead goes as soon as you pull down the pit lane anyway. I mean, it's a done deal. It's just bewildering. You better get onto the phone to them and say...
Oh, I will do, don't worry. Don't worry about that.
All right, so more on this tomorrow as to what on earth were you thinking? It's team management by Martin Haven. It's got all that. All
They're going to make us look foolish now. There's some fantastic plan we've all missed. And
let's hope. Lights are off on the safety car. Maybe they know there's going to be another safety car period later in the race when everybody else has destroyed their tires.
Something else again that would save him. If he can get a break now with these 3 cars behind him that will hold the pack up, and then another safety car period, that'll save him.
Well, Glock's got a cunning plan, hasn't he? He's backing everybody right up, but he needs to. They've been behind the safety car for so long. They're all quite stretched out. David Sears is talking about the impact there.
Doing their inquest into their 2 cars retiring.
So, Timo Glock, Adrian Zaug, Sergio Jimenez, Andy Suchek's nowhere near close enough. Suchek is going to be defending from Senna at the end of the straight. Suchek has blown his opportunity. Senna in 5th place. See if you can see the yellow nose showing itself quickly. Now Suchek gets a bit of a run on Jimenez, but it's up to Glock and Zaug to disappear now, but the South African is not close enough. Here comes Senna, not quite, but the intent is clear. He does not want to be sitting around with Nicolas Lapierre, Lucas de Grassi, Borja Garcia all behind him.
You've got to see Glock get the hammer down big time now. He really needs to get on his bike and open up a big gap.
Well, frankly, he needs to be in a McLaren at the moment, doesn't he, rather than a GP2 car. That really would.
Well, Mass's on pole, so Ferrari isn't bad either.
Indeed, yes. Timo Glock, Adrian Saag, Sergio Jimenez a little further back. That is the second of the surviving Dams car. That's Nakajima trying to charge his way back up through the field. Nakajima is 10th at the moment. He did go in for a stop, even though initially he didn't come in the first time round. Looking there at Vitaly Petrov. 2 Russians in the field this weekend.
Senathan Suchek.
He has finally taken him a whole lap, but I think Suchek is now fairly safe based on Lapierre's previous in overtaking ability. Lucas de Grassi behind them. Borja Garcia really slowing everybody up. You've got Garcia, then Petrov, then the white and red car Nakajima, then Roldán, Rodríguez, and the other Russian, Michael Alishin, who is on loan this weekend. He's doing World Series by Renault, and in fact he's...
Sorry, Mark, just to talk across, just to say you could see a good example there of what the chicane is supposed to do, which is close everyone up and get them close onto the pit straight. But of course, you all get onto the power as early as you can, which is all at different times because you're all one behind the other, and nothing's different. You all come onto the straight with a big gap between you.
And you've got to get it right, and that's the thing. The drivers hate it because it's so technical, and you absolutely have to be spot on. It'll suit a certain kind of driving style much better than most.
But it hasn't really made a lot of difference to the sort of closing the cars up onto the straight and for the first braking area. It's not really, by the look of it, had that effect, unfortunately.
As any fool know, the only way to close Formula 1 cars up is to get rid of about 60% of their aerodynamics. And that's exactly what you have in a GP2 car, a car with good aero but very good mechanical grip. Here we go with Kazuki Nakajima moving right over to the pit wall, and that'll be to hold Roldán Rodríguez behind him.
Dear, dear, dear.
Didn't really work though too well, did it? In fact, Rodríguez, despite all the best efforts to shut the inside, went straight around the outside. So he obviously got a very good tow past Nakajima on the straight. And these cars do still, despite the advanced aerodynamics they're sporting this year, really give a good hole in the air. Now, Alishin's got a chance to get past Nakajima as well. Looks like Nakajima's not got the pace that he should have.
Alishin's done well. He's come in, obviously, to take Ammermüller's place, who did his wrist, broke his wrist at the first race in Bahrain. So Senna's running slightly wide.
Yeah, it was, I think.
And Alishin had no testing before this weekend. He did 2 laps in free practice before a technical problem intervened, and his first real run was qualifying, so he's done pretty well, actually.
Nice kid. Didn't have too much success last year, but he won the World Series opener in Monza, so he's certainly getting to grips with cars at this level. Well, it's chaos here. Absolutely everybody all over the road. Now, Javier Villa, I'm sensing, has got a bit of a problem.
Yeah, he's going backwards, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He lost 2 or 3 positions there. And in fact, I think we also saw Roldán Rodríguez picking up another spot down in the first corner. Javier Villa currently, well, he was in the middle of the queue with Christian Bakarud, Kohei Hirati and Pastor Maldonado. Ho-Pin Tung, I think they've all just pretty much squeezed past him. 22 there is Nakajima, still in the middle of that little group.
So with the front Glock is banging in low 31s on his lap times. He's constantly doing best sectors every time.
Ah, now then. That was the replay with Villa. This is again through that tight little sector. And in fact, yeah, he was really compromised by giving somebody else racing room. Hirati went by him.
I think he was given the option there. You knew it was either give him room or both go off. But certainly the chicane did its part there. It enforced mistakes, forced errors, and they all came onto the pit straight together. So in that case it worked. But Glock at the front is banging in best sector times, lapping almost a second faster than Zaug in second place. So he's doing what he's got to do and opening a good gap.
Sound of a broken exhaust or something. Or is that just the microphone? Sounds a little bit odd, Javier Villa's car. And the Spaniard having to have a little bit of a confidence boost to try and get around there. What is going on with Rodríguez? Boy, oh boy, he's in overtaking mode, isn't he?
Well, just Spanish boy, isn't he? So a bit of local impetus.
A bit of confidence. Well, so is Borja Garcia.
Yeah,
What's
true.
Garcia doing, though? You know, he is sinking. Ooh, that's Lapierre around the outside of Andy Suchek, another local boy. And don't forget... Souček hasn't stopped. Lapierre holds on somehow to drop in behind Lucas de Grassi, but
sometimes you have to just accept that you're not going to get the place and just tuck back in again.
Well, now obviously Lapierre has been listening to our commentary last time and stunned by my claims that he's never overtaken anything in his life except a caravan.
Yeah, that was,
he was really having a go.
That was actually out of character, wasn't it? Yeah,
very
good to see, but
and that's why he went off.
Yeah,
he's not used to it.
Exactly. Well, you put yourself in that position there, you're just going to get, off you go, pal, get out of the way.
Well, you're absolutely right about the speed of the iSport cars. Timo Glock 130.7, his fastest lap. Adrian Zag 131.8. The next closest car is 131.6. Bruno Senna. He's the second quickest man on the circuit, but nobody has dipped into the 30s apart from Glock, and nobody dipped into the 88-second barrier either, so they have been comfortably quicker than anything else.
I mean, the only defence you could give to this decision not to call Glock in on the first time round was at the front you don't know what everyone's going to do. The assumption would be that they are going to come in under the safety car, but if Glock had come in and the others hadn't, he then would have been down at the back of the field when the safety car came in. He would have been battling through 26 cars.
Yeah, but when you're on pole and you're leading, are you going to run somebody else's race or run your own? I think we saw Lucas de Grassi passing Andy Souček there. I'm not quite sure. We cut away before it actually finished to come to this Nakajima battle. Nakajima, obviously the director has already picked up that Nakajima's onboard camera is going to give him hours of footage, isn't it? Vitaly Petrov was the man who sneaked by that time. And there is Petrov. Battle for 10th place. So Glock from Zaug at the moment by 4.7. Jimenez still third, Senna fourth, Souček fifth, or de Grassi fifth and Souček sixth. We still haven't picked that one up. Lapierre seventh after his exciting trip round the outside.
Gone wide.
There is Souček and de Grassi, so de Grassi didn't get by, and right behind Lapierre and Roldán Rodríguez, who it seems to me is going to go through these three in front of him, a bit like a knife through butter.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, it goes to show how hard it is to overtake at this circuit. I mean, Souček was slow in qualifying, there's made no bones about it. He qualified 21st and then ended up 26th after his penalty for yellow flag infringement. De Grassi was third on the grid, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, and de Grassi can't get past him.
Well, let's see if that changes this lap. Souček checking both mirrors long and hard, looking for the move, and then he was looking in the wrong mirror when it came. And he doesn't have the pace, Souček, he really doesn't. Nakajima doesn't care whether he's got the pace or not. I'm slightly thinking that the Banzai headband has slipped down over his eyes, but he's really performing, isn't he?
I think he's really exciting, but he just needs to calm down in places.
No question at all.
Very exciting.
A year of polishing, and he could really take this championship by storm next year. He could be a real Lewis Hamilton kind of charger. Fantastic. Well, he got by, no question at all about that, so good job by him. Romping away, still in the 30s. He's not come up out of the 30s. Second quickest man at the moment, 132.3. Roldán Rodríguez. In fact, he's not. He's about fourth quickest, but he's going very quickly indeed. Ooh, and that's him. No, it's not.
Right, boys, who took each other off in Bahrain, I believe, didn't they? So let's not see that again, fellas.
Well, they just almost did formation parking. Maldonado and Herate. Maldonado does not need to be that desperate. I have a feeling that was him taking 14th from Herate. But again, Maldonado's very quick, very accomplished, but prone to just a really odd twitch that just is irrational. And let's hope he can iron that out this season.
Yeah, it's often only little things like that make a difference between a front-running driver and someone who is not consistently there.
Yeah.
You need to be banging in good results each. When you feel like it, when your head stays calm.
Closing up again. Nakajima is tailing Borja Garcia there. And this will be for 9th place. Nakajima is in danger of taking himself pole for race 2 very soon, isn't he? But then perplexing is he'll then have to decide whether to stop or continue trying to make up places. Great hands there from the onboard with Nakajima. In the pits is Antonio Pizzoni. I think he's going to give this up as a bit of a waste of an afternoon. The car was tanked by somebody. It's wrecked the rear floor, and it's probably all coming apart, delaminating as fast as he can get it round the corners. You see Mikhail Ilyushin there in the middle of that battle, and this is Borja Garcia with Nakajima. Nakajima seems to close gaps ridiculously quickly, doesn't he? He goes from just got past one guy to right past another guy in a lap or two.
Yeah, well, he's sort of running further down than his qualifying pace really should see him. I mean, like I said, he qualified 5th in reality and down in 15th once he got his penalty. So his pace is front-running pace, really, so he's amongst midfielders who's quicker than...
You're absolutely right. He was the 3rd quickest man on the last lap in the entire field, and given that Glock is in a separate category, he's only just being outpaced by Adrian Zaug, who's in 2nd. And here we go. Here's the toe, and he's going to go.
Not this time.
Oh, see, he's close enough to really put Garcia under pressure. And a second stop now for Andy. Oh no, that's his first stop, of course. That's why he was in 4th, 5th, 6th with Nakajima again. I think he's becoming an honorary Spaniard very quickly indeed. Maybe it is because he's chasing Borja Garcia that the director is particularly enjoying it, but. Now, of course, this is not now for 8th because Suchek is 15th as he dropped down the positions. So, no, it is in fact now for 8th, not for 9th place. But we still have Adrian Zaug, Sergio Jimenez and Timo Glock, who are our 1, 2, 3, well, they're not in that order, to pit. So this could end up being for...
It could be. I mean, Glock is 9 seconds ahead of Senna. Senna being the first car on the track that has pitted. He's 4th, the 3 ahead of him have yet to pit, so the gap's 9 seconds. Really has to be a lot larger than that before Glock can think about pitting.
Yeah, no question about that. He's got plenty of time left. Well, he's got no options at all, has he? He can't play with it. He has to go on the last possible lap, doesn't he? And then do 2 laps. The gap's big enough. I mean, they've nailed their colours to the mast in no uncertain terms. They were obviously very confident about the pace that they could generate to go with that strategy, because it leaves you absolutely no options but to crucify the field and then somehow squeak that out of the pits in time. And that's pretty risky. Nakajima still all over the back of Borja Garcia here. And he's got to that significant juncture where he's now lapping at Garcia's pace, and he's got no relative advantage because he's not catching him anymore. He's stuck behind him. So let's see now what he can do through that little chicane section, the as yet unsponsored new chicane. It should perhaps be called the Valentino Rossi sequence or some such. One of the factors, actually, that little speed cam shot reminds you of it. One of the factors that the drivers don't like about this new sequence, Gareth, is that it robs you of those last 2 very fast right-handers on the circuit, which were real suck-it-up corners where you just had to, there was no option but to be really ballsy because you know there was no runoff.
Yeah, exactly right, no runoff, and they were super quick too. I mean, really a great challenge, both those turns, and difficult turn. You turn into the first one and it was a blind turn-in. So exactly right, and the second one was, as you said, no runoff, and you knew that the penalty for getting it wrong was a sizable shunt. So they were a great challenge. I'm really, for me, an ex-driver's point of view, I'm sad to see them go because they were great corners.
Yeah, definitely. Lucas de Grassi just keeping his nose clear of, or his tail clear of the nose of Nicolas Lapierre, and Adrian Zaug still in 2nd place. Not dropping, well, actually 0.8 of a second to gain on that lap, so the gap is continuing to grow, but it's still less than 10 seconds, and it's got to be 25 seconds.
Yeah, I agree.
And plus, hasn't it, really? I mean, it's a long pit lane at Barcelona and a flipping long straight alongside it, so yeah, certainly nowhere near big enough gap yet for Timo Glock's, as far as his point of view is concerned.
But as you say, I mean, it's a long race. We've had probably, what, 10 flying laps, and he's opened up a 10-second gap to the key driver, which is Senna.
Yeah, so he needs another 5 laps more than we've got left.
Yeah. But he's got...
it's doable. It is doable as Nakajima is... Oh, now this is what Formula 1 cars don't have. Mechanical grip, that when you get alongside somebody, you can stay there and you can both race without falling over each other. Nakajima having a very good look at Garcia.
See what he can do through this new chicane.
I think he's lost the run, hasn't he? Now he's got to get a good exit here. Garcia squirts away, so it's all down to the toe. He's quick off those corners, though. The distinctive, if not particularly attractive, colours of Renault this year. It's unfortunately, the Renault is living up to the old adage, if it looks right, it goes right, and it really looks awful, and that seems to be pretty aptly reflected. Isn't it funny that two worst colour schemes on the grid, Renault and Honda,
the most disappointing cars?
Yes, I think so. Let's have a look again at this then, because this could so easily go wrong, couldn't it, here?
Yeah, he wasn't really close enough to have a proper look, and to be fair to Garcia, he could see him coming and he gave him room, which is good. If Garcia had taken his normal line, they'd have both been off in the gravel, so that was fairly clean stuff, but I think slightly optimistic from Nakajima.
Yes, I think so, but you've got to have a punt again.
And he does.
Indeed he does. Now, Senna seems to be perplexingly boxed up behind Sergio Jimenez here, because we mentioned this earlier. Senna 6th in qualifying and Jimenez down in 18th, so there should be a pace deficit, but the Spaniard is really hanging on, and close, unless we're seeing him looking like getting close right now. We're seeing
again.
Another attempt at formation parking. Herati dive bombing Maldonado. And the race leader comes over the rise and continues. Adrian Zaug. And just saw there in second, Sergio Jimenez, Bruno Senna not really able to get quite close enough. Nothing sort of on yet at all, really, is there?
No, we haven't seen much of them, to be fair, but from what we've seen, there's not much effort going on to try and get past.
Yeah, I think if something had happened, we'd have seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's for sure.
Exactly.
Now, those bunch, Senna has not raced here before, of course, having raced in British Formula 3 before. Last year, Jimenez was racing here in Spanish Formula 3, and last year, Adrian Zaug raced here in the World Series by Renault season closer. He got 6th position here, but he did win here in Formula Renault in the Euro Cup.
I'm surprised Degrassi isn't closing the gap more to Senna, seeing Senna is really being sort of stuck in behind Jimenez there. In fact, Degrassi, who qualified 3rd, and is obviously quick, is making no impression.
And Senna is not only stuck behind Jimenez, but they are also slowing themselves right down now, because Senna is having a concerted effort at trying to make some changes here. I think Senna needs to, because potentially he's the race winner.
Exactly right. Yeah, he needs to start making progress now. And although having said that, I mean, his main rival, realistically, apart from Glock, who we don't know what he's going to do, is Degrassi.
I suppose that's true.
Degrassi's making no impression, is he?
No, none at all. But Senna's definitely not going to win unless he does this, and he does not
convincingly.
Quite. No. Dear, there's shades of Silverstone here, where he's got all the right moves and just not quite the conviction. Is that Nakajima? I'm thinking it's very likely to be, yes. So I think...
he's also got a tear on his front left.
Oh, this is Piquet Nürburgring territory, isn't it? Yeah, he's got a big delamination there. That must be a monster lock-up somewhere.
Could be that, or it could be a wing that's hit the
that's very possible, yeah. Baccarud, under all sorts of pressure, the Dane outbreaks himself.
I don't know, it would look more than outbreaking. Look like perhaps some fluid, perhaps he spilled some fluid and spilled on it himself. Ah, there you go.
You are absolutely spot on with the wing, but I don't think if they'd stopped it before what happened next, neither of us would have guessed it with broken suspension. Look, left front wheel was off the ground, and that's a shame. Now that is an entertaining battle, unfortunately gone the wrong way.
And it wasn't his fault, no, to be fair.
And so often that's the case, though, isn't it? So often that's the case. You run into somebody just because you happen to be wide open and they've made a slight co-up there.
Yeah, that's a shame. He was lining up for a pass there.
Right, come on, Bruno. Let's see you actually get this sorted out. Oh, look, it's just ripping itself to pieces. I wonder if it was off the ground because it's puncturing. No, it wasn't, I think. No, I can't see the top wishbones either, but maybe the bottom one's just been bent or something.
I can't see any obvious suspension
damage. But his
damage.
steering's not straight ahead anymore.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the tyre would cause that partly. I mean, they won't know until they get back to the pits.
Just the worry, maybe it was just because he was beached, the floor of the car was beached over the curbs, but either way, unfortunately, the Nakajima's little spark has been removed from this race. Lucas de Grassi in...
Jimenez is pitted.
So he's now in 4th place, that's right. So the leader of the group that stopped. Now it's really important for de Grassi to actually select top gear for a change and get on with it.
To be fair, he has. I mean, the gap was about just 4.5 seconds. It's now down to less than 3.
And into the pits, for the second time comes Pastor Maldonado, which may well be why he's been repassed by Keo Hirate, his teammate. So Timo Glock, Adrian Zag, the only 2 cars not to have stopped, 1st and 2nd. And Senna and de Grassi, the gap is coming down. It's interesting that the moment something changes in front, de Grassi's suddenly speeding, slowing down. That looked like a very odd-looking line there. Maybe he just got in a little too fast for himself.
Certainly Senna's most recent lap was a 33.2, which is about a second off the Zaug and de Grassi, the cars around him. Glock, meanwhile, is still way ahead of that. He's in the 31s.
Another facet of the cunning plan occurs to me is that even if Timo Glock were to stop, say, 6 or 7 laps from the end, everybody else would have 40-odd lap old tyres, and he would have brand new tyres. He might be placed. I mean, it's another little bit, if you have to pinch some time back, that you might have a chance.
Yeah.
Gamble to me, my gamble would be to go in the lead and come out in the lead behind the safety car.
It is a gamble, you're right, it is. I mean, they got the pace, no question about that. On new tyres, that will be great pace, but certainly it is a gamble.
What's the worst that would happen? You might lose 1 or 2 positions in the pits behind the safety car from the lead. Right. You'd still be somewhere in the top 4 or 5, no matter how bad the disaster. And you'd have a whole race to recover from it, not just a lap or 2. So we'll wait and see. Timo Glock continues to lead from Adrian Zaug. Well, we don't quite Pastor Maldonado out of the car. The driver from Venezuela clearly not happily with the way the Trident machine was handling this weekend, or so far not in the race at any rate. So Glock and Zaug out front, but for how long? Now, Timo Glock has got the pace. You can sense that you're going to have to push this right to the wire as far as it is just a gamble, isn't it? There's absolutely no chance of coming in 10 laps before the end. Really, you've got to go the last possible opportunity.
Well, the downside to doing that is you're going to come out in traffic, so any benefits of being on new tyres are going to be lost by being in traffic. So no, as I see it now, unless we have a safety car period, he's going to have to run as far as he possibly can on this rubber.
Yeah. And then Zaug is in between a rock and a hard place. He's not going fast enough to build up any advantage. He's 2.5 seconds ahead of a guy who's stopped. He knows that he's just going to go down in flames, so he may as well stay second for as long as possible. Hope for more incidents, hope for more failures, hope for hope.
Yeah, and he's in clear air, so you know, and he's also great for publicity purposes.
Yep,
for
exactly. Quick, comfortable. Exactly. If you didn't stop behind the safety car, there's no point until the last possible lap. So Alishin Yamamoto might be battling for pole position then in race 2, possibly, depending on how the pit stops work out, because we might lose one of our top 2 out of the top 8, possibly even out of the top 10 if things are against them when they come back out onto the track. It'd be interesting to see how, let's see, if they were, say, 25 seconds behind or 35 seconds behind, that would drop them. Well, Yamamoto is 10th. He's 36 seconds behind the leader at the moment.
Just an interesting thing I've just noticed, Martin. That was the first lap we just seen where Glock wasn't fastest.
Yes.
Senna actually went quicker than Glock by a 10th.
Wow.
So I wonder if that's significant. Was that just a mistake? Yeah, but as I say, that mistake from Glock's done a 31.6 that lap. So
I think maybe
it's just a mistake.
The significance I was pointing to on the screen would be possibly the presence of the number 2 car right behind him. Di Grassi getting closer in his mirrors is really boosting him on. But I don't know. You don't know, do you?
31.8% of that lap. So certainly the pace between Glock and Senna has lessened. There was a second gap for the first 10-15 laps.
The interesting thing, of course, between Zaug and Senna is that they are ardent teammates. One has stopped and the other hasn't.
That's a good point, yeah.
And they're pretty much then in an identical kind of car. I mean, we're not even the variations of engineering between two different teams, really, to separate them. So very close, the two of them. And they actually, in lap times, they have been very close all the way.
But I would expect Zaug to move over for Senna. You know, there's absolutely no benefit to either Zaug or Senna for the pair to be fighting. They're on different strategies. So really move over, let Senna get out of the way. If anything, get in his toe and just try and follow him along. Go with him. He's clearly a bit quicker anyway. Well, take advantage.
The two of them working together should be able to leave Di Grassi behind, because they can benefit both of them from the toe, and Di Grassi can't because he's on his own.
Let's see if they do that. Let's see if they've got the intelligence to work together and make a break.
Do you ever remember doing that when you were driving?
Funny enough, I do. Do you know, there's a great example I had where I was racing at Thruxton, and I was racing with Dario Franchitti, and Jan Magnussen had made a break, and Dario was second, and I was third. Oh, bit of another blow-up.
Yes.
Wow.
Now, however, I was going to say, however, if that's Nakajima, it's not. It's Lapierre.
We did see Lapierre run wide, didn't we?
Fifth position, well, unless it's eaten some gravel trap. But I thought these things had filters on.
Spinner at the last turn there.
Oh, that's an Arden car. Oh, no! He's overcooked it on his tyres. So, or has he? Who have we just seen smoking to a halt 2 corners, who wasn't in front of him? No, Lapierre wasn't in front of him. So, Zaug has just spun it away. This is going to be Lapierre.
That's where Lapierre goes,
Well, that's something pumping oil through the cylinders. So it's not a drive belt.
He just got hard on the power as he came out of the turn, and bang, it went. And there goes Zaug over the curbs. Round she goes.
We have seen so many of those over the years in Barcelona, but through the final, the old track is still there, of course. It's still used, but through the final corner, it was usually running out wide, fast, and towards the barriers in a rather scary manner, wasn't it? So Di Grassi, sitting there twiddling his thumbs, doing his knitting, is now third. Roldán Rodríguez, 4th place. So his electrifying starting and his aggression in the opening laps has really worked well for him. And Adrian Zaug walks gutted with that. It was just a straightforward driver error, and unfortunately drivers do make them at any and every level up to and including Formula 1. He's going to be very disappointed with that. What a shame for him. So Timo Glock leads. Bruno Senna is second now. Only Glock has still to stop. Ko Hirate adding up to a troubling weekend. Up here, we've already seen his teammate Pastor Maldonado retire with as yet undisclosed problems. You sense that perhaps he's got a bit of a handling issue, and that Maldonado might not have been alone. Back towards the sharp end though, Timo Glock leading by 18.5 seconds now after 24 laps from Bruno Senna. Looking at third place man Lucas Di Grassi, 4th Roldán Rodríguez, 5th Borja Garcia, and I'm surprised to see him that far up. Another smoky departure exiting stage left. Ho Pin Tung, now Tung is in 11th place. Roldán Rodríguez 4th, Borja Garcia 5th, Vitaly Petrov 6th ahead of compatriot Michael Alishin in 7th, with Sakon Yamamoto 8th, Javier Villa 9th, Sergio Jimenez 10th. Effectively there are 13 cars really still going. Nakajima's had a second pit stop, as we saw after coming together, and Hirate, well, he's and Suchek kind of still going, but effectively we've sort of lost about half the field in terms of still going competitively. Timo Glock, the race leader, the only man who's still out there who has not stopped for tyres in this race, in which it is not just an option, it's compulsory. So Gareth, 13 laps remain, and he's still got 11 out on the track before he's forced to come in, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the lap time over the last 3 or 4 laps between him and Senna pretty much has stabilised. We saw during the break, Glock's lap was not great, did a 32.2 or 3. Senna was faster that lap by a good 2 or 3 tenths. This lap, Glock 31.8, Senna 32 dead. So it's around the same sort of mark now. It's stabilised at about an 18 and a half, 19 second gap. Glock has stopped pulling away from Senna.
From this bunch, we are going to see somewhere our front row starters for race 2. You're looking at Petrov, Alishin, Yamamoto, Villa, and just behind Jimenez, and then that is the battle for, as we ride with Villa, Yamamoto in front of him. We're riding, we are riding in 9th place, Yamamoto in 8th in front. So the 2 Russians just in front of him, 6th and 7th, Petrov, and first-time GP2 starter Mikhail Alishin.
That's a good experience for him in his first GP2 race, but also critical, you know, to be the first Russian home. If he can beat the regular Russian competitors in this series on his one-off race, then great publicity for him.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and it means that when he goes to Monaco, which is the next World Series, and indeed the next GP2.
It is, yeah.
Ooh, how does that work out? I wonder if he might end up doing both.
If Amamura isn't back, I think their plan is to get Amamura back in the car, but obviously his wrist is the problem.
Now they're both Saturday races, so I don't think he could do.
To be honest, he wouldn't want to. I mean, it's difficult. It's different to do say a Porsche
think
race.
Of the mileage.
The mileage, yeah, but because the cars are different. I mean, it's very, very hard stepping from one single seater to another. It really is.
Well, the other thing, of course, is that you'd have to just basically sit in the pit lane while they brought the cars to you, because one paddock will be in Nice and the other one will be somewhere in northern Italy. You know, won't it? So, big mistake there, and I think there's a chance. Come on, Alishin, the number 1 guys are really now see, that's one of those things where the chance caught him completely by surprise, and right behind Yamamoto's red car is looking to take advantage of both cars in front being slow. Villa's getting in there, Jimenez behind him as well, so no, he's now, from having almost a chance, he's now right on the back foot. Alishin is defending desperately to try and keep Yamamoto back, and suddenly Petrov has got a break, and it's all because Petrov made a mistake.
Yes. Makes a mistake and he's the one to benefit.
Well, he dropped the catch just where it didn't count. The lead's in. Timo Glock goes into the pit lane after 27 laps
the gap
completed.
The gap is 19.2 seconds at the last time they crossed the line, so that won't be enough.
We were wondering how much new tyres will make. They're scrubbed.
This could be great, Martin, because De Grassi was 25 seconds behind. I think
he'll be second behind, so that's De Grassi gone through. He'll be third, so he's 3rd place now. That's Rodríguez coming up next.
Yep.
Over the hill.
No,
in the Minardi PK car. Yes, it is. That's Roldán Rodríguez, I think, in 4th place. So he's 3rd then. And then there's the big, then there's Borja Garcia on his own. Then there's the big bunch behind. So it's all about now how long he takes to catch.
On good fresh rubber. So they're getting the hammer down, and we've got almost a quarter of the race left, so he's got a bit of time. Whether he can catch Senna, that remains to be seen, but certainly De Grassi's pace was nothing special.
Okay, yes. Senna with Lucas De Grassi, and all about keeping his head down and pushing on to stay out of the reach of Timo Glock. So we have a new race leader for the first time, 27 laps in the lead, Timo Glock. And Bruno Senna now on his 1st lap as the race leader. Lucas De Grassi is really starting to push a lot harder now. You can see the car physically moving a great deal more. Now, whether that's being reflected in lap times, he's still 8 tenths slower than Senna on the last lap. 8 tenths! Goodness me, that's a lot to be losing. Yeah. Back with Villa.
That's been the pattern for the last 3 or 4 laps, really. De Grassi's pace dropped right away, but good decision from iSport. I think it was the right thing to do. They obviously worked out where he would be coming out. He's come out in good, clean air, just behind De Grassi, who's not going that quickly, and shouldn't provide too much of a hurdle to get past to get to Senna.
It shows, doesn't it, how many things that you don't think of as an armchair viewer are really, really... How long an in-lap, out-lap sequence loses you compared to 2 consecutive flying laps. That's absolutely critical to being able to plan that sort of a strategy. Because if you have to guess and you think, well, maybe it's 30 and it's 45 seconds, you may as well not even bother turning up because you just throw it all out.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, obviously they knew they weren't going to get in and out before Senna came through. Di Grassi, maybe they could have done, but not without a great deal of luck. But they didn't want to fall behind Rodríguez. I mean, that was important. So they worked it out that they wouldn't be doing that.
This is continuing as an entertaining battle, and the reason it's continuing is because Petrov is the slowest of these 4 cars, isn't he? In reverse order of speed, they've closed up now with Petrov, Alishin, Yamamoto, and Villa. Having a look at Yamamoto, he's getting bored, is Villa. I think I'll have enough. Now, see, he's another guy, so young, Javier Villa, but he's another guy who's got that little impetuosity. And Alishin, and again, you see, it was Petrov getting it wrong, and now Yamamoto's all over the back of Alishin, and Villa's going, oh, come on, catch up. And look how quickly he's catching them, though.
Well, to be fair, I mean, look at the lap times they're doing. They're lapping around 3.5 seconds slower than the front runners, just because they're holding each other up. Well, was that Villa? Oh, you had another look, I think, then,
And Petrov's in the 36s, and despite the fact they've been queued up behind him for umpteen laps, the rest behind are all in the 35s still, so they keep closing right up, and Alishin had a little think about it there as well. So tantalising from this viewpoint of Villa, how much you close up under braking. But of course that's because while you're wide open, the driver in front is already on the brakes, and then as he gets off the brakes and onto the throttle, you're still hard on the brakes. It just always seems like you're closer in the middle of the corner than you really are. And that's, I think, as much as anything else, what gets people into a position that they can't get out of. They just suck it into this, yes, I'm closing, I've got enough room, oh, goodness me, no, I haven't.
You saw a great example of it there. Villa was just suckered in. He gave it a boot full of power, and it just got sideways and cost him down the straight. You've got to be so careful with the power onto the straight to make sure you get optimum traction to get a great run.
Alishin here is the man who's really in trouble, because Petrov is all over the place, desperately trying to hold them all up, and Alishin is the one who's going to get past or hit. They won't be taking a lunge far enough to get to Petrov, but Alishin, the second man in the queue. See, now Jimenez is right there, and it's starting to turn into a bit of a huge chaotic queue behind Petrov, because he's just ruining everybody's lines and their pace and their rhythms all falling apart. A huge old scrap. So last lap, Senna 1:31.8, Di Grassi 1:33.0, Timo Glock's first flying lap 1:31.7. He is 15 seconds behind the race leader and going a tenth of a second slower on that first lap out of the pits as the racing engineering drivers, Villa and Jimenez, conspire at the back of this queue to try and move themselves up potentially onto a front row for race 2 on Sunday here in Barcelona, their home track. Welcome back to Barcelona with Timo Glock in the red and blue iSport car, who's third after pitting from the lead late in the race, and Lucas Di Grassi, the second place driver. Gareth Rees, here's our race leader Bruno Senna, last lap 1:31.6, Timo Glock's was 1:30.8, but critically Di Grassi, the man he's got to get by first, was 2.5 seconds slower than Glock, so Di Grassi is a sitting target. By Villa, as Villa has another look at Yamamoto. This is all the queue for 6th place behind Vitaly Petrov. That's entertaining, but what's really interesting in terms of who's going to win this race is the pace of Timo Glock. Now he's got his tyres bedded in.
Yeah, I think Di Grassi's pace is really poor, isn't it? He's 33.9, which is we're watching now, but the key bit, as you said, is how Glock deals with Di Grassi.
Fanning out in formation. Alfonso Dorleon, the team boss, will be happy that they avoided each other and that they're both looking pretty feisty, and that again was a mistake in front. You see, that time it was Alishin, I beg your pardon, it was Petrov. Alishin has got by Petrov, and here is the battle for second. Di Grassi, now we were saying in the break, it depends where he catches him. He's going to get him somewhere, and he's going to get him fast.
I mean, that was just dispatched so easily, wasn't he then?
He's 2.5 seconds a lap quicker. You know, you almost can't not
Well,
pass.
you say that, but when we've seen sort of people who qualified right at the back, keeping cars who qualified right at the front back for ages. Clearly, Glock's got such a head of steam and is so determined, and I think maybe De Grassi isn't really happy with his car the lap time he's doing.
No.
So it was pretty much a formality. Whether Glock can catch Senna.
Oh, Via goes by Yamamoto. So still, even though Alesian's got by, Petrov is producing the excitement. Petrov is the man directly in front. Ahead of him, Michael Alesian is not getting by, not getting away, rather. So let's have a look.
There's a replay from Glock's car, as we go past De Grassi. Just gets the slipstream. De Grassi actually doesn't fight a great deal. He knows it's no point. You know, he knows it's a formality. And in the end, just moves out the way.
He knows he hasn't got a race-winning car, and actually that's one of the most maturing things in a driver, when you can accept that your car will not win.
Yeah, no, that was quite intelligent. There's really no value. It was going to happen at some point, so just let the guy go and just take the points for third in De Grassi's case.
And
sorry, go on.
Here's the start of the pass on Yamamoto, I think, where Yamamoto tries to get around the Russian, doesn't do it, and that was Via. We saw the onboard of that. That's what it looked like from the reverse angle. So exciting stuff. Still fraught times, and don't forget, this is for 7th and 8th. Via going past Yamamoto.
Alesian now is nearly 5 seconds ahead of Petrov. After he's stuck behind him for lap after lap after lap, he's opened a 5-second gap in the space of a lap and a half.
And Alesian is currently 6th from 21st on the grid, if you please. And that's brave, isn't it, from Jimenez? Yeah, see now V is going to have a go back. No, he's not.
You have to say Petrov's having a great defensive race.
He has, hasn't
really
he?
Doing well, yeah.
Now, if it was a Monaco, nobody would have got by.
Not at all.
Luckily here, there's a bit more racing room. So the gap then between Senna and Glock, we're on lap 33 of 38 now, because we had an aborted start, and Glock is 12.5 behind Senna, but
fastest
Gareth
lap as well.
Of the race, so an extra point going there. So Glock 130.6, and that's about 2/10 quicker than even he has managed at any stage in this race. And Senna 32.2, which is 1.6 seconds even by my maths. So there is a huge margin being whittled away.
I think all Timo can do really is just keep doing exactly that, banging in super quick laps. And Senna, don't forget, is fairly inexperienced. He's only been his first year in GP2. He's only been racing anything for kind of 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
Once he sees that gap being slashed like that, look at this move up ahead, look. Whoa! Great stuff.
Via's wondering which way the accident is going.
Yeah, exactly. Which way to avoid it.
Jimenez, I've completely revised my opinion of Jimenez's abilities, and am doing so by the lap. I'm really impressed with him. And Via, I know that Alfonso Dorleon, who runs racing engineering, is really impressed with Via and thinks he could be the next Alonso, but actually he might have 2 on his hands. And Petrov loses 2 places there because Yamamoto goes by as well. Petrov's car is, I wonder what sort of state the tyres are. It must be feeling pretty rotten by now, don't you think?
It was a brave fight, wasn't it? But I think it's all over now. But all Glock can do is keep banging in those quick laps, and Senna will get the message on the pit board that the gap is coming down. There's a replay of the great slipstream Jimenez gets on Petrov.
And he came right over, didn't he, to squeeze Petrov all the way. Give me room, give me room, give me room. Yeah, absolutely. 23 years old on Tuesday. And of course his teammate Javier Villa is the real kid in the squad. Glock again, another fastest lap, 130.395, 10.9 seconds first to second, as you see the end of that as Petrov's Campos Racing. See, another Spanish team. There's them stringing out now after laps and laps and laps spent bottled up. There go the 2 racing engineering guys, another Spanish team, and of course the Yamamoto racing for BCN, yet another Spanish team. They're at home here in Barcelona. But Senna and Glock, that's the big question mark. 0.4 of a second quicker just on the first sector of this current lap. Bruno Senna giving away time all the time. But can Timo Glock close the gap? Are we going to see a first-time win from Bruno Senna? Or is Timo Glock going to close him down and rob him of that opportunity? '24-year-old Senna, 2 years of British Formula 3 Championship racing. finished third place in last year's series. And last year, Arden scored 50 of their 57 points in the first half of the season, so they had a pretty disastrous tailing off after that. But let's see if they can continue to keep things alive.
It's interesting, isn't it, seeing an ART car struggling for pace. We're so used to it over the last 18 months, season and a half.
Yes.
Seeing it just utterly dominant. With a very occasional exception, but for the most part, really always setting the pace.
I was thinking about that this morning, actually, and about the way that iSport finished last season, and that they've continued with that in very much the same way that when ART hit their sweet spot in the early part of 2 seasons ago, they continued that momentum through the winter. Nobody else found anything or could catch them, and now iSport have just really got it where they want it, and they've...
Look, I mean, the key to that was hard work. You know, I know there were gossip and rumours in the paddock that ART were cheating. Utter rubbish. They were just doing a fantastic job. And I think iSport were one of the few teams in the paddock who said, no, they're not cheating. They're just setting the benchmark. It's for us to up our game to match what ART are doing. And to their credit, iSport now have done that and overtaken them. Something
I meant to ask when I was thinking about this, I was thinking, we've got identical cars. You have to use all the same components. It literally is spring platform rates or whatever, you know, the fine adjustments you can make. Where are ART without Rosberg and Hamilton?
Yeah,
and look now at the driving. I mean, if we look back and again look a little further back into Formula 3000, look when Arden were on top, they made a point of getting the good driver, really making sure they had a championship winner in the car, and then giving him the car to do what he does. And I wonder if that's the big difference. Bruno Senna leading in Barcelona, 36 laps completed of 38. So Timo Glock with plenty of pressure here. Now I wonder what... Can you imagine the radio traffic between them? Are we going to keep you out? Are you up for this? Can you do it? Do you think you want to do it? Do you want to take this huge gamble, or do you want to play safe and come in? We've got a lap to think about it. Here's what we think. What do you reckon? I mean, there's no question the way he's driving now, he accepted the gamble and he nailed his colours to the mast along with the rest of the team, and he thought, yeah, hell, let's just... And, you know, from a man who started on pole and was leading after a first lap safety car, that's a hell of a brave game.
What has happened is when you're on pole, you're the first car behind the safety car. When the car picks you up, it's a very difficult one to call, to say, right, I'm going to come in or I'm not. It's easy when you're second and backwards. You can see what the front guy has done. You know, you can make your decision. Race leader, you have to make the first decision of anyone out there. And I think, with hindsight, and to sit here in a commentary booth, it's easier for us to say you should go in. But it's not that straight.
Laps behind the safety car to change their mind.
They did, but I think if you don't do it that first lap,
no, I agree.
The next lap,
you're almost
you lost quite a bit of advantage. The next lap even more, and it goes on and goes on. Yeah. The more laps under the safety car there are. So really, to make it worthwhile, you've got to do it. But then I think that's when you're like, well, let's stay out, let's do what we've done, and let's take the gamble. It hasn't worked by the look of it. But they've given it a good shot. But it's a tough one to call, and I wouldn't want to be in their shoes where you are. It's like when you're the race leader and it starts to rain. I mean, what do you do? You're like, do I stay out on my slicks? Do I come in and put wets on? What's everyone else doing?
Well, that's the difference between brilliance and mere greatness, isn't it? That you've got the ability, without even having to almost think about it, that somebody like a Schumacher has, just to... Senna so often, not Bruno here, but Ayrton Senna so often was in that position where he made absolutely the right judgment call without thinking. But as a result of that first lap safety car, we have another first-time winner in GP2. Bruno Senna moves one step closer, perhaps, to moving into Formula 1 following his late great uncle. He wins by 5 seconds only in the end from Timo Glock. Lucas di Grassi off form, out of sorts. If there was another 5 laps, he wouldn't be in third place. Roldán Rodríguez there would have caught and passed him. Di Grassi on the podium, but Roldán Rodríguez will take 4th place, and that is a really good run as well. Rodríguez started a long way further back than his results would have suggested. I can't even find him on the grid. I'm looking at 12th place. There you go. So, but Bruno Senna, well, that is a great result for him. His first victory in GP2, and a great racetrack to win at as well.
Yeah, no, that was a great winner. I mean, to be fair, the fastest driver didn't win today, but
Indeed.
You know, still a great performance. I'm sure his uncle would be very proud. He did a great job, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And this will give him great confidence. We saw good pace in Bahrain. A win here today gives him great confidence, and from now on, I think he'll get better and better.
Him and Arden both, because they are overdue a return to really front-running pace, aren't they, on a consistent basis? And I think that'll help. You're right. Timo Glock was the fastest man on the track, but I remember Ayrton Senna winning from Nigel Mansell in Monaco. Oh, he wasn't. Kazuki Nakajima has taken the point for fastest lap on the last lap after a third pit stop. So Glock doesn't even get that extra point. But, you know, the fastest car doesn't always win. As Mansell knows, the active Williams was climbing over the top of Senna's McLaren for, I don't know, 40 laps of Monaco, and he couldn't get by. But there were 5 quicker cars on the grid in qualifying, and Senna still won the race. So it again speaks volumes of his racecraft, his ability to keep the pace up there, although he was never quite as fast as Timo Glock on a lap-by-lap basis. And fastest lap, the only man to break the 1 minute 29 barrier, apart from Timo Glock. No, he didn't. No, 1:30. Even his fastest lap was 1:30.0 something. You're right. So the only man into the 89-second margin. So good for him. He gets something out of it as well, and I think that's only fair. 1 point. I mean, he produced much more than 1 point's worth of entertainment.
Exactly what I was going to say. Exactly right. Yeah. Yep.
So there you go, Javier Villa and Sergio Jimenez, 7th and 8th place after all of that. And on his debut, Michael Alishin in 6th position behind, well, pretty much invisible Borja Garcia, his Durango team. In fact, knocked off in the opening couple of laps, speared through the pack in the opening couple of laps. But a good run for Rodríguez to 5th position. The Spaniard will be happy with that. Roldán, Rodríguez, rather 4th place, ahead of Borja Garcia. He'll be happy with that. Andy Suchek, well, not every Spaniard, I suppose, can go well in Barcelona, and he really didn't have much of a weekend of it, did he? Karen Chunduk, the other Durango car, spearing through the pack on the run down to the first corner. How they avoided him, Lord only knows, but that is a moment for Bruno Senna to remember for a while. Start at any rate. First GP2 win, and that is a great effort, as Bob Constantinos is just reminding us on the circuit PA. Only his 3rd GP2 start, and already he's on the winning step of the podium. So again, it certainly belies the fact that he's not spent a decade racing karts and working his way up through all sorts of junior category. He's really come in as a very unfinished racing driver, and he's producing some great results. Charlie Whiting ushering the drivers into the post-race weighing room. Gareth Rees, we were picking up on the TV, of course, Joe Ramirez down in the McLaren garage, and he was for so long associated with McLaren for many years. He's officially retired now, but hanging around there, and I wouldn't be even remotely surprised if he's one of the first to go and congratulate Bruno Senna on his race, because of course he was very closely involved with Ayrton Senna and must know the family well.
Yeah, he was. He's a lovely chap, actually, Joe. I mean, I was involved with him only briefly when I did some work for McLaren, and he's a really nice chap.
So, you know, you can almost see in a year or two's time, possibly, that this guy is going to be right on the top of, you know, people like McLaren's shopping list. He might end up starting his career with Toro Rosso or Red Bull, as you can see, you know, part of that package. But you've got to believe that people like McLaren and Renault and Ferrari are already starting to look at him and going, hello, this guy's done 3 years of single-seater racing and nothing else.
Yeah, if he carries on his current career trajectory, then definitely, yeah. I think he's still got quite a bit to learn yet, but as you say, for the stages out in his career.
Well, it's interesting actually just to hear them in this room afterwards, and they go, "What happened there?" You know, drivers who haven't seen the first corner car, and say, what went on? Why was the safety car out and all of this? Let's just listen.
I'll take it down to your place.
Thank you very much. On to the circuit.
Okay, well, they seem to have discussed it. We'll maybe pick that up in the post-race press releases, but as they come out onto the podium, Lucas de Grassi, third place man, leads them out. Timo Glock, second position, and I guess that we'll find out again later when we speak to the team whether that was choice or whether it was foisted on them. But the Brazilian anthem for our winner, Bruno Senna. So congratulations to Bruno. Fourth and eighth in the two races in Bahrain, and now a race winner, Bruno Senna. But with his third second place in a row, Timo Glock is our championship leader heading into tomorrow's sprint race. And don't forget, you can see that action live on Eurosport. Oh, Gareth Rees, is he, or has Javier Villa?
He's on pole. He is our pole man tomorrow.
So we had an all iSport front row for the feature race, and we will have an all racing engineering front row for the sprint race. Javier Villa on pole from Sergio Jimenez. I think I might just have to phone Alfonso Dorleon and congratulate him on that, because the Spaniard will be thrilled with that.
At his home race, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great stuff.
Michael Alishan and Borja Garcia will start third and fourth, ahead of Roldán, Rodríguez and Lucas de Grassi, with Timo Glock and Bruno Senna seventh and eighth. Well, Glock doesn't exactly look overjoyed with being the championship leader, but Senna is looking his relaxed, comfortable and charming self, delighted with that race win. Arden International and Bruno Senna back on top. So, looking forward with great interest to tomorrow's race, particularly because Nakajima is going to be starting from 15th, right in the middle of another bunch of cars.
That's exactly where he started today, actually.
We probably won't have time to show all of it, unfortunately, in the shorter race, but he will be electrifying. And there's a lot of quicker drives as well, potentially, to come from behind. Zaug, of course, who will be 16th, Lapierre, Maldonado, Pizzonia, Zuber, Conway, Pantano, Filippi.
Yes,
I mean, it could be real chaos.
Really exciting stuff that's going to be, yeah.
But for the moment, it's time to celebrate and congratulate Bruno Senna's first win in the GP2 series. 3 race starts already on the top step of the podium. So that is a great result for him. And Barcelona looking as if it will produce an excellent race. Whether the Formula One boys enjoy it or not, we will have to wait and see. Meanwhile, from Gareth Rees and from me, Martin Haven, thanks for joining us. Join us, please do, for our live coverage of the sprint from the Circuit of Catalunya tomorrow.